Hello students, welcome back to your channel Zebish English Classes. I know it has been a long time since we last met, but I must still express cordial gratitude to all my subscribers who stayed connected with me throughout the journey so far. Even despite the circumstance that I was not able to upload videos regularly. Situation wasn't favorable for me and it is still not as much, but I promise you that I will try my best to be regular with the videos. And I could feel that I could boost up myself only with the help of this support and love and care and concern that all my subscribers have shown towards me. I cannot thank you guys enough for all your love, support, for your concern, even that I used to get the comments asking about me, showing their concern in regard to me. They were more concerned about me instead of the videos. I am really overwhelmed with joy. This was the source of motivation that today I am back. And I'll try my best to keep on improving myself. I'll try my best to be the best of myself, and I can help you in the best way. Anyways, we had enough of talking by now. Let us start today's video lecture, and what I have picked up today is your summary of the short story from ISC, that is B. Wordsworth. So, I will tell you the summary of this story B. Wordsworth, which has been written by V.S. Nepal. And what is this story all about? This story is actually all about uh, an admiration. It has got the theme of friendship, it has got the theme of adoration, it has got the theme of admiration, it has got the theme of curiosity, and it has got the theme of identity. Now, in what sense? How? What happens? Let us understand. I'll just summarize the story in front of you for this video lecture, and later on when I deal in the story with each and every word, when I explain, then I'll also do the analysis of the story besides the explanation of the text line by line. So for today, when I have to give you the summary, let me tell you that in this story there is a small boy who is a narrator of the story, who narrates this story. And what happens that a stranger comes to his house, which is at Mikeville Street. There the stranger knocks at his door, and then the door is opened. What happens that instead of a kind of a beggar, he was a stranger who demanded to see the bees in his courtyard. This was the demand made by the stranger. And the name of that stranger is B. Wordsworth, as he told that narrator. It happened that the narrator was a small boy, so his mother allowed that stranger to be in. He went inside and he watched the bees there along with that narrator, that small boy. Both of them were standing there, they were watching the bees. And at the same time, it happens that B. Wordsworth, who was a stranger to the narrator and to his mother, he said that he loved to watch the bees and any other insect as well. Even an ant he would love to watch. And he also told that he was fond of writing poetry, and that he had already written a number of poems that he would like to sell to whoever is interested in purchasing. But then it happened that the narrator's mother refused to purchase his poem that he wanted to sell. That's how this meeting got ended, on that note that he offered to sell his poem, but it was not purchased by narrator's mother. And then what happens? Slowly and gradually, there establishes a kind of a bond between the narrator and that stranger. They begin to share something in common, and that is a kind of a feeling, an emotion, a bond, that bond of friendship, that bond of togetherness, of love, of adoration towards each other. Actually, what happens that the narrator is not very much gratified in his family, and that when he is not understood by his mother, he is beaten by her, he is scolded by her, he feels bad about it. And he also feels bad to think that he is not able to express himself to his mother, and that his mother does not understand him but just tries to pressurize him for anything that she wants to be done. So he was not very happy. He was kind of unsatisfied with all those things, and that is why it happened consequently that his bond, instead of his mother, his bond began to strengthen with that stranger named B. Wordsworth. So this is how it happened, and as the friendship grew, B. Wordsworth shared some more stories with that small boy, which were related to his personal life. So what he shared was that he had got a garden. Actually, what happened that the boy had visited the narrator. The narrator is a small boy, and he had visited that stranger, that B. Wordsworth. So when he visited after being beaten by his mother, he was beaten by his mother actually very badly, and he became very upset. He was crying. So what he thought that he should make a visit to the place of that stranger, where he might find some comfort. So he went there. When he went, he was embraced by the that stranger B. Wordsworth. B. Wordsworth offered him a lot of comfort, a lot of you can say consolation, and he asked him to just sit back and relax there. Then what that stranger tried to do, to console that small boy even more, and to make him feel better, and to make him feel more comfortable, was that he asked him to observe the stars. He tried to inculcate that habit of observing nature in that small boy. So we see that Beaver's worth tried to inculcate the habit of watching nature in that small boy, because B. Wordsworth understood the significance of nature as a poet, and he used to think that nature could be the best guide, could be the best comforter, and could be the best friend at times. This is what he wanted to convey to that small boy as well, and he tried to do that with the help of making that boy do all that, making that boy watch the stars, watch the insects, and try to get some lesson from the nature around. So that's how what happens, that the small boy was made to observe the stars in the sky, which was, yes, relished by the boy as well. That means the boy enjoyed watching the stars in the sky, and he also felt better after watching the stars. So, somehow or the other, we see that it was impacting that small boy. Then that small boy noticed that the garden was quite, bushy, and it wasn't trimmed well. So that was put forth as a question by that small boy to B. Wordsworth, why was the garden in such a way? And then to the question, it was replied by B. Wordsworth that he would like to share a story with that small boy, and the story went in the following manner, that There was a girl who loved a man very much, and then it happened that the girl was in love with nature, and the man was in love with nature too. So this is how both of them loved nature. What can be concluded from this? That both of them must have been the poets, because generally it happens that the poets are close to nature. They love nature, especially when we talk about romantic poets like William Wordsworth and all. Generally it happens, it is there, naturally in one, to be close to nature, to love nature, to understand the significance of nature, and it is beyond that ordinary thing for the poet. However, for others it can be just an ordinary tree or something, but for a poet it is more than that. It can be a guide, it can be a friend, it can be a comforter, it can be a source of great lesson. So what happens here, that the story is shared by B. Wordsworth to the small boy. He tells that both the husband and wife, the girl and the man, they both loved each other, and they both were poets. They loved nature too. And it happened that she was about to give birth to the child of that man, but then she died, she expired. And that death of that girl had impacted the life of that man so badly, so atrociously, that since then the man did not trim the garden and left it exactly like that. This story was shared by B. Wordsworth. Now we try to perceive beyond what is just displayed in the story, that somewhere or the others few things are hidden that we need to analyze. And as I just told you, that this analysis will be done by us when we go through the story line by line. So what happens here, that the poet has got probably some pain in his heart which he tries to hide from the world. Maybe he himself is that man who must have lost his wife, who must have been in love with that woman whom he lost. She died, and then as a result it happened that he remained a lonely poet. And since then he left his garden just like that, without ever trimming it. So even it is possible, it can happen, but the thing is that the poet B. Wordsworth does not disclose all these things clearly. He just tells it in the form of a story to that small boy. And then also it happens, which we get to see very easily, that the small boy gets impacted a lot. He gets influenced by whatever is told to him by B. Wordsworth. So somewhere or the other, we can see that the boy was also very much curious, inquisitive, and was developing in himself that characteristic of a poet. You can say that trait of a poet. He was also probably developing or growing into poet. So what happens then? The story was told, and the story is somehow symbolic, because it can be a story of the poet himself, which is not clearly mentioned in the story, and which is not clearly told by the poet to that small boy either. Now what happens ahead in the story, that B. Wordsworth, okay, let us first of all understand what else are the things that B. Wordsworth had told to the boy. He had also told that he was B. Wordsworth, and B stood for Black Wordsworth. However, he had a brother named W. Wordsworth, that is White Wordsworth. So, this is what we understand about him, that this is how he used to see. This is important from the perspective that B. Wordsworth was so much fond of poetry. He was so much interested in being called as a poet, in being recognized and identified as a poet, that he said that he was a brother to W. Wordsworth, that is White Wordsworth. So we understand his keenness, his eagerness, his interest in being called or recognized or identified as a poet. So this is what happens, but then abruptly there is a kind of a twist in the story, which shows us that this B. Wordsworth is about to die. He's unwell, and when he falls ill, he kind of realizes that he would not survive, and he would die soon. Now, what happens when he's about to die, and that small boy visits him again? That narrator is very upset, because that narrator is that small boy. I hope you remember that all the time. So that small boy is very upset to see his friend on the deathbed. So what happens here, when that small boy sees his friend in deathbed, and he asks a lot more questions, a lot of questions to his friend, then it happens that the poet, that is B. Wordsworth, the stranger who had told a number of things to him, now he begins to just go contrary to whatever he had told so far to the to that boy. What happens, that B. Wordsworth, this stranger, this man, the poet, he begins to go contrary to his own words, and he just says that whatever had been told by him so far to the boy, whether it was about the poetry or the story that he shared, that story of the girl and the man, and how she had died, and how the man was impacted so badly, all of that was a complete lie, was something that the stranger eventually said to the narrator, the small boy. Now, why did he do so? Why did he go contrary to his own words at the 11th hour when he was in deathbed? All these will be understood by us in the analysis part of the story. But this is how what happens, that the story comes to an end. The narrator eventually, sorry, that poet eventually dies, and the narrator remains upset about it. He cries badly, but he fails to understand why did that stranger ever lie, and what was actually the lie, whatever he was told in the beginning, or whatever this stranger told while being in the deathbed. That was just incomprehensible, beyond understanding. The narrator was not able to understand these things. So, this is how the story comes to an end. And as in the beginning of the story itself, I have told you what are the themes that are carried by this story. I hope you could understand at least something from the story. I promise you I'll try my best to stay in connection. Like I'll try my best to stay connected with you all. And at the end of this video lecture, again, I would like to express cordial gratitude to each one of you from the bottom of my heart. I'm truly overwhelmed with elation, with joy, to see that how one can have an extended family through such subscribers, when they show their concern, their love, their adoration, their admiration towards the YouTuber. And I'm really happy that you all stayed connected with me. Thank you so much. This has given me a lot of motivation, and I will try and solve all your queries, whatever you ask for. Yes, I'll go ahead with other video lectures too, both of English literature and English language. Thank you so much for watching.